Matthias is responsible for SUSE Linux Enterprise Server with Novell. And as on June 2nd, support pack 1 for SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 11 is coming out. I want to know everything about the exciting new features in that new release of the support pack for /11. So Matthias, could you please explain us?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. The Service Pack 1 of SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 will introduce a huge number of features, so I would like to select some of these functionality to talk about with you. The first thing certainly is, and this is what all customers expect, that we have a lot of hardware improvements on all areas. So that means on the storage area, network area, InfiniBand area, and so on. But
Can I interrupt you there? That's very interesting. But for these hardware improvements, did you collaborate with major hardware vendors on that? Or how does that work?
Exactly. We are working with the vendors of the parts. So we are working with the vendors of network adapters. We are working with CPU vendors like Intel, AMD, and IBM. You know that we have 5 architectures to support in our operating system: Intel AMD 32-bit, AMD Intel 64-bit, Intel Itanium, IBM Power, and IBM System Z. And we are working with all these guys. We are working with people like QLogic, Amulex, Broadcom, Brocade to have better support of the components in the system. But certainly we are also pushing all these people to bring their stuff upstream, because not only we want to benefit, but also the Linux community wants to benefit.
You mean you are pushing these people to write decent open source drivers so that also Red Hat and Ubuntu can benefit from it?
Well, but on the other hand, we are also benefiting from other people in the broader Linux community working with those partners. Today, I think, with our release, we have the biggest stance in working with partners on the hardware side and also on the software side, because, as you know, SUSE Linux Enterprise has the highest number of ISV certifications around Linux Enterprise distributions.
Okay, so there is major new features with regard to hardware. What else is new in /11 SP1?
We have also improved our ability in terms of scalability, where scalability means memory scalability, number of CPUs, also storage scalability. You know that we're supporting the XFS file system already for 8 to 10 years, which means you can go up to the incredible number of 8 exabyte in one file system if you find that number of disks.
Numbers are cool. Tell us about the amount of RAM and the number of CPUs that are supported currently.
So supported are 4096 CPUs on respective hardware which has this number of CPUs. But the good news here is that the ability to support 4096 CPUs also means that small machines benefits from the improvements that we had to do to make this high number of CPUs available or possible to support. The same is for the memory. Currently nobody has 16 terabyte of RAM in his lab, but we will see that very soon, and we expect in 2011 certified support for 16 terabyte of RAM on the x86-64, so that's the Intel AMD World 64-bit area, with specific hardware vendors once they have collected these number of DIMMs and RAM banks into their labs. It's just a matter of power, memory, and money that you need to have this certification.
Yeah, sure. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server can run on huge machines. I hope to buy one of these myself next year or so. Okay. What else is new?
So in terms of supporting huge machines, it is also necessary to support, for example, power management capabilities. Because sometimes in these huge machines, and if we are talking about huge for the normal user, even 64 CPUs is huge, but you will have that very soon with the recent CPUs that have just been released by Intel and AMD. Talk about Nihala Manicure, for example. This stuff is supported, and it is important that your system is able to send cores to sleep so that you save power when you are not running full speed on everything. Our system has this capability. It's called, the functionality in the Linux kernel is called tickless idle. That means that the kernel is not always pulling all these CPU cores, but that it gives them the ability to go to sleep when there is no work to be done.
That's excellent. But as this is kernel functionality, this is not something that's unique for SUSE, is it?
It is not yet available on any other enterprise Linux operating system. So we are the first to introduce. We have introduced the tickless idle kernel with /11 in March 2009, sorry, and with our refresh of SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 Service Pack 1 now, we have an even better implementation which supports the latest hardware and so on. We have other functionality which is in this area of working more diligently with the capabilities that you have. For example, a functionality called kernel resource management. It is about putting specific tasks or task groups into so-called control groups. And then you can confine these control groups and say, okay, this set of tasks only works on my CPUs 8 to 15 and only
This is CPU sets we are talking about, right?
CPU sets is a subset of control groups. It's a specific module of control groups. Control groups can do much more. And in the end, we will support in the future container technology on Linux. Control groups is the base technology, and we are currently working with the community on Linux container support, which will appear in, my assumption is SP2.
So Linux container support, is that like OpenVZ, virtualization, containers like that, or should I imagine something completely different?
It is based on the same base technology, with the control groups in the Linux kernel, and it is now about developing the right user space tools which are more lightweight than virtualization, like OpenVZ, which I rate more in the virtualization area, but you're still sticking in one operating system and doing your stuff there. But indeed, it goes into the direction of OpenVZ, but as a full open source, fully supported implementation.
Okay, cool. Now I'd like to know about file systems as well. SUSE has been famous for its support for RiserFS. And I can imagine that there still is a large base of SUSE servers that are using risers. What is the current support status of SUSE Linux Enterprise towards RiserFS? Are you still maintaining that? Are you still stimulating people to work with that? Do you want them to move away? And how about ext4? Is that present already?
That's a good question. Thank you very much. So our status is that we have been the operating system to support the most number of file systems in the Linux area. For 10 and 11, we support ext3, RiserFS, and XFS. And RiserFS is fully supported and maintained, which means we have developers working in this file system, doing performance optimization, doing maintenance on it. So if there would be bugs, they fix it. And we will support it for the full lifetime of 11. In SUSE Linux Enterprise 12, we don't know yet completely. It will at least be possible and supported to mount existing riser file systems. The release notes say that we potentially will not encourage people to create new file systems with 12. With 11, it is completely and fully supported. With respect to ext4, let me jump ahead a little step. From our perspective, and the community efforts show this, ButterFS is the rising star on the file system heaven in Linux. And looking at the capabilities of our file systems, we are the only enterprise Linux operating system to support 3 file systems with very specific different capabilities. So XFS, large file systems, RiserFS, millions of small files, tail packing and all those capabilities, X3 for the more normal workloads and smaller file systems. We think that ButterFS is the future. We are providing this as a technology preview already in SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 Service Pack 1, going to support it in Service Pack 2, and thus we will skip ext4 support in SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 Service Pack 1. The kernel module is included, but we neither encourage people to use it, nor we think that with the capabilities that we provide, there is a need to have ext4 supported for SUSE Linux Enterprise customers.
Okay, well, you are surprising me here because the ext4 kernel module, even if you load it on ext3 file systems, it offers much better support for ext3, isn't that true?
It is half true. The challenge here is that the ext3 file system and the ext2 file systems, let's go to this level, are fully backward and forward compatible. So you can mount every ext3 file system as ext2 file system. This is not true anymore with ext4. That's one of the sad things I had to learn, and which triggered also our decision not to go for ext4. If you do a conversion of an ext3 file system coming from /10, for example, or /9 into an ext4 with a newer kernel, then either you can decide to be backward compatible or to maintain the new capabilities of ext4. And this is because ext4 has changed some parameters, like I think it's the number of inodes and the size of the file system to go for bigger file system sizes. So it's not fully backward and forward compatible. And that is a major drawback in our perspective. While, and this I would like to add, ButterFS as a file system has the capability to mount existing ext3 file systems, and as far as I see, this ext3 file system is handled as a snapshot in ButterFS, so that you could mount a ButterFS as an ext3 file system after you have converted to ButterFS in the future from an old system, and at least have access to your old data there. That's one of the things. So the missing full back and forward compatibility is the major issue with ext4 from my perspective, and the much better capabilities of ButterFS makes me think that it is a good decision for our customers that we do not introduce yet another file system, but go for supporting, developing, pushing for ButterFS to have it as soon as possible in an enterprise-ready state.
Okay, so to summarize that sounds like ext4 is not advanced enough and SUSE is just jumping ext4 directly to ButterFS to go to the most advanced file system that's available, right?
I don't want to disqualify ext4. In environments where you don't have RiseFS or XFS available, ext4 might be a good choice. But with the capabilities, and you may look into our webpage, we have comparisons there of the capabilities of file systems. With our other file systems, we have a broader range, support for a broader range of use cases than if we only would support ext4. That's why we think that we are well set to skip ext4. This does not disqualify ext4 to be a bad or not ready file system. I don't want to go that way. I just want to go the way that ButterFS is the future, and we should concentrate together with the community. And you know that there is not only us around ButterFS, but a huge community also of enterprise organizations supporting ButterFS. That's the way to go.
Okay, well, that makes perfect sense. I do have one more question, and that's about AppArmor. When /10 came out, I think in the original release of /10, AppArmor was one of the major new things. But some sad things have been happening to the programmers of AppArmor, if I have to believe the rumors. What is the current status of Novell, and what is the vision of Novell with regards to AppArmor SELinux to protect the services on enterprise Linux?
That's a very good question. Thank you. One of my favorite questions. So the idea of AppArmor is confinement of applications. This is with a focus on one application and to make this confined. The focus of SELinux is a holistic approach to enable specific limits to the whole operating system. Both are not comparable. You should not compare it, but you should look at the use case that you as a customer want to fulfill with a specific security technology, and then choose the best matching for you, for your applications. You know, not every application runs perfectly in SELinux, while with AppArmor this is a little bit more lightweight. On the other hand, there are environments where SELinux is appropriate to be used. That's why
AppArmor is still the way to go for /11.
That's a good question, but is not matching my view on it.
Okay.
My view is that depending on the use case of the customer, you either choose AppArmor or you choose SELinux, or you don't choose anything, depending on the security needs that you want to fulfill. That's why we have AppArmor fully supported, and that's why we have so-called basic enablement on SELinux. Basic enablement means that we would encourage customers who want to use SELinux to talk to us about the support model and the support path that they want to go together with us on SELinux. And we are prepared for that. The kernel is up to date. We have the userland capabilities of SELinux, and it's just waiting for a customer to consume these capabilities. So we are considering now, we have not done that in the past strongly enough, potentially, that there might be a need for SELinux as well, that there is a valid use case for AppArmor. It's just not that you should make those two fight. It's just that you look at your needs and decide what you want.
Okay, well, excellent. That makes sense. So I think we are almost out of time. So final question: did we miss any major new improvement in SP1 in this interview? Something we still need to talk about. Not thinking about the high availability extension and virtualization, because we'll cover that in different interviews. But is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I would like to stress the systems management area, because I think that SUSE Linux Enterprise is unique there. We are the only one who have really a complete open source tool set, Just, you may have heard of that, that is used to maintain locally your system. We have improved our systems management stack on two areas. The first area is that we add to the local management tool a web-based management tool called WebJust. This is an improvement for customers who want to maintain and configure their systems over the web. It is a technology in strong progress. It comes from our appliances approach, and it is fully supported on SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 Service Pack 1. The second thing, which is important, is that we have introduced with 11 GA already last year a new open source, very fast update and patch management stack, which is called ZYP, ZYPP. And this stack really is an improvement compared to older versions of SUSE Linux Enterprise, but also compared to other open source solutions, because it gives you a lot of technologies to maintain your system remotely, command line, on a graphical interface integrated in Just with WebJust integration. And these capabilities make us well prepared to be deployed in large enterprises, as well for small customers who want to enjoy the enterprise Linux capabilities.
Okay, well, sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to having a thorough look at the release of this support pack. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.